What's up, Steno Squad? We have a jam-packed episode for you all today. With me, I have a super special guest, Court Reporter Janet Saavedra. Janet is currently the president of the Dallas Court Reporters Association. We are going to learn a little bit about Janet and a whole lot about mentorship. In this episode, Janet and I will be exploring all facets of mentorship and how Steno students can benefit from this kind of relationship. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Katiana.
How were you introduced to the wonderful world of court reporting?
I got introduced into court reporting because I worked in banking and I had someone that came in and my supervisor was interested. They got to talking. My supervisor said she was going to go and sign up for court reporting school. She never did.
What year did you hear about court reporting in school, and what year did you start?
I believe this was 2007. And so I think that's when I started, but I dropped on two different occasions and it was like year-long breaks. I went through something personal. I had lost my grandfather at one point, and I just could not concentrate. And so I dropped out of school at one point for a year, and then I came back. So, a lot of times I thought, okay, is this really what I want? But no, every time that I thought about what I wanted to do, I thought about court reporting. And for sure, this was something that was meant for me.
When was your last time dropping out and your last time being enrolled and staying enrolled?
I believe that was 2009. I had gone back in 2008 and I was on for about a year. And then I dropped out, I think, for 6 months, and I came back in 2009. After that, then I was enrolled continuously.
So once you started back in school back in 2009, when did you officially graduate from school?
I graduated in 2012
Okay,
from
that's
Arlington Career Institute.
all right, represent. Okay. And then you got certified. When was that?
I got certified in 2015, so 2 years later.
That's quite a gap. What happened there?
I kept trying to pass my Texas state exam. I will admittedly say that I did not prepare for my first exam. I went in telling myself, well, there's no way I'm going to pass this because I had just met the requirements the month before. I ended up just completely failing that test, as I had told myself I would. And after that, I did try and I kept failing. So I failed a total of 7 tests before passing my 8th test in 2015.
Okay. That's really, honestly, it's a great testimonial though, because look where you are now. I mean, you are the president of the Dallas Court Reporters Association. If you would have quit maybe on the 4th time or the 5th time, who knows what you'd be doing now? It's great that you kept trying. Our main topic today is mentors and why students can benefit in having mentors. And we're going to talk all about that this episode. In your Steno journey, did you have a mentor?
So I not met, but I saw my mentor in 2008. She was speaking at a seminar. She was a president of my local association, which is the Dallas Court Reporters Association. And I saw her and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like her. So I think might have been 2008 or 2009 when I came back, but she had emailed the schools telling them that she was going to start her own mentee group, and she was looking for students who wanted to be mentored, and she was going to have this group and reach out to them on a weekly basis. So I immediately emailed her and was like, please include me. Like, I love you and you don't know me. And that's when she became my mentor.
Was this a group mentorship then, or was she hooking you up with other mentors?
This was a group mentorship. Maybe once a month, we would meet with her and she would do a little bit of everything, sometimes dictation, sometimes working on transcripts. And then we would reach out to her individually by email. She would ask us questions about school and we would reply and stuff like that.
What do you see the difference in having a group mentorship or a one-on-one mentorship type of relationship?
Being in a group like that was great because I could see that other students were struggling just like I was. I appreciated that and gave me the confidence to speak about what problems I was having in my journey. It allowed me to be comfortable with my mentor. When I was having doubts or questions, I felt comfortable in going to her because of those group settings. I was getting to know her better. I benefited from both.
Because the leader of this mentor group would be reaching out to you individually or you would reach out to her individually, you felt that you still did have a one-on-one connection with your mentor, even though you were both part of this group mentorship.
Yes, I definitely did feel like I had that one-on-one relationship too, because she didn't just open it up to, you know, oh, you can only talk to me when we're in a group. No, I mean, she definitely let us know that we could reach out to her at any point. And so I felt comfortable enough to do that, whether it's in a group or whether it's individually. I think you can benefit from both, definitely.
So, Janet, who is this mentor that you're speaking so highly of?
Kim Xavier is my mentor. She's been my mentor, and I know
Oh, wait,
that,
wait, wait. Wait, I'm so sorry. Wait, like Kim Xavier, like Kim X, like Kim?
yes, the
Kim?
Steno girl.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Kim is so amazing. Kim has actually been on the Lady Steno podcast twice, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her several times, and she is just like, gosh, like the definition of awesome. Like she is
Yes.
just so incredible, and she's so nice, and she's so knowledgeable, and she's so like, oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Now that makes sense because I'm like, man, what does somebody have to do to get on stage for you to just know instantly that's who you want to be your mentor? But now I see it. I see it. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Carry on.
Kim is very humble. So I don't know that she'd really want me to say all these nice things about her, but it's true. I mean, she was the reason why I kept going. And I really wish and hope that all of our students can find someone like that in their life because it really makes a difference.
What difference? What are the benefits that you've noticed of students like getting when they have a mentor?
For me, I failed 7 times before passing my state exam. So along the way of my court reporting journey before graduating, I had my doubts. And I definitely had my doubts when I kept failing the state exam. So having my mentor there and getting to know her and knowing that I would disappoint her if I quit, that kept me going. Your family will keep saying, oh, yeah, I support you, but they don't really understand the real struggles. A lot of times I felt like, well, my parents wouldn't really mind because I mean, they keep asking me, oh, did you fail again? Or are you going to take it again? So I knew that that one person, my mentor, would be extremely disappointed in me. And so she kept me going in that sense.
What you mentioned, these are like the two biggest things with having a mentor mentee relationship is that they can really help you when you're starting to doubt yourself. They're able to motivate you or to help bring some clarity to you so that you know that, yes, you can do it. And on top of that, it comes with accountability. What should students expect from their mentor in terms of accountability? How can a student go about finding a mentor in this pandemic? What are some ways that you think that a student can find a mentor?
Well, DCRA, Dallas Court Reporters Association, we have monthly meetings and they're still virtual. Go to your association meetings, even if they're virtual. Online, there are people that you may follow on Instagram, reporters that may be involved in your associations, whether state, local, or whatnot. If you know what area of reporting you want to go into, find someone that say is in that area and maybe reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to mentor you.
By area, do you mean like somebody who's an official versus a freelancer versus a cart provider, or are you talking about the location?
Well, it could be both because if you want to be an official in Dallas, her duties may be different from a San Antonio reporter, where the court systems work a little bit differently. So you want to learn what would apply for your area. But if you want to be a freelancer, you would contact a freelancer. If you want to be a captioner, you would contact a captioner, because definitely they would guide freelancer. I'm a freelancer, and so I would have no clue on what a captioner does and how they do it. In order to get you to where your ultimate goal is, then you would definitely need to have that guidance from someone who's knowledgeable.
It's important for the student to actually define what kind of mentor they're looking for. What about theories? Does it matter what theory the mentor and mentee have? Should they have the same theory?
I think it depends on the goal. If your goal is to find a mentor who will help you with your writing, I think it's definitely important that you would have the same theory. Let's say you're in your higher speeds and you already feel comfortable with your writing, and your goal is to find a mentor who will guide you through finding out more about what officialship entails. Then I don't think it's absolutely relevant. Just like with everything in court reporting, there's not a one way of doing things. You definitely have to identify what it is that you want from your mentor.
This is where I'm a little bit confused on the role of a mentor, and it seems like the lines could kind of blur, because let's say a student is looking for a mentor to help them improve their writing skills. Where does the role of a teacher or coach fit in? What should you be expecting from the mentor if your goal is to improve your writing, or if your goal is to pass a certain speed test?
What you would be looking for in a mentor is, we can talk about accountability and motivation and just what you, so it really, so if there's an area in your journey that you want more of, but you're not getting with your teacher, you're not getting with your coach, look for a mentor who can give you that you are looking for, that you don't have at the moment. So let's say your teacher is doing a good job of dictating, but you're not really grasping, or you're not able to write shorter, and your teacher's not able to give you that, or understanding certain grammar patterns or how to punctuate certain things, then perhaps your mentor can help you with that. That's how a mentor can help you.
Even if the mentor is not able to actually help you one-on-one with, hey, this is how you punctuate this kind of sentence, they probably know of more avenues that you can learn this from. So they can point you into different resources that maybe a student may feel uncomfortable asking their teacher, or maybe even the teacher doesn't know, but the mentor can probably assist with at least pointing in the right direction.
Definitely, that is so true. For example, a reporter who is mentoring someone might, say, "Oh, I would absolutely love to help you with this," but she may be swamped at the moment, and she can at least point you in the right direction, definitely, and maybe follow up with her. And then if you still have questions, maybe at that time she can approach it on a one-on-one situation.
For one-on-one, how often is a normal? I don't know if there's such thing as normal these days, but how often should a mentee and mentor be in contact?
There's not a one fit all situation. It depends on the time that the mentor can give. It depends on what the mentee needs. I definitely recommend that there be a meeting between the mentor and mentee, and just kind of talk amongst each other as to what your expectations are of each other. It might be a hard conversation for a student to feel comfortable with, but it definitely needs to happen. If you come to the agreement that once a month would be great for you to sit down and maybe spend an hour together, maybe spend 2 hours or three, that's between you and your mentor. If you come to the agreement that perhaps once a week for, let's say, 20 minutes would be good, then that's between you and your mentor. So definitely something that you have to come up with between you and your mentor.
I could understand where a student can be coming from and feeling very intimidated by a court reporter, but I think it's very important to remember that that court reporter or that closed captions provider was once a student as well. The other thing that would kind of hinder me from approaching a court reporter when I was a student was that I had this idea that court reporters were so busy, like that they barely even had a second to watch television. Like they were just slammed with pages or going to and from jobs. But now, as a working reporter, I realize we have time and we can make time. It's very important for the mentee to make it easy on us as the mentor to help them. And so setting schedules like, hey, every Friday at 2 p.m. or whatever agreed upon time, like that the mentee actually sticks to it and respects it as well. When I was a student, I used to be extremely intimidated by court reporters. And I just felt like they're way too busy to have a second to even deal with me. That definitely hindered me in finding a mentor.
Yes, I can see that. I mean, I'll tell you something funny for me. We have to remember that reporters are human beings just like me and you. But I can think back of a seminar that I attended for students, and I was at a table with people I thought were all students, and someone gets up from the table, and immediately the other students are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm sitting next to him." And I am like, "Okay, who are they talking about?" Right? This whole time I've just been acting a fool and
Mhm.
saying jokes and thinking everybody's a student. So I'm like, "Who are y'all talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, you don't know who you were sitting across the table from?" And I'm just like, "No." And they're like, "Mark Kislingberry." And I nearly choked on my food. I mean, I was like, "Oh my gosh, the legend himself across the table from me." And I am over here thinking he's a student. Oh my gosh, how dare me, right?
Right,
And
right.
my attitude completely changed once he came back to the table. I mean,
Mhm.
I felt like, oh my gosh, I had to be this robot student, and be on my best behavior and everything. And immediately I think back to that moment because I no longer saw him as just another human being. I saw him as the powerhouse that he is.
Right, the
And
Steno
so I
God.
understand, yes. And so I immediately think, with our students, how they see us. And I remember seeing reporters like that. And so I understand absolutely how it can be so intimidating to approach us. But you just have to definitely think back that we were in your shoes, just a few years ago for me, and that we understand the journey and we want to be reached out to.
What happens when you've already defined the mentor that you want to have and even been able to approach them and started a mentor relationship? Like, what happens when the more that relationship develops, the more you realize, hey, this isn't what I really want? What do you suggest that a student do?
Well, you can definitely have a conversation with that mentor and just say, "Hey, is there any way that we can do this? If it's still not going the way you envisioned, then perhaps find someone new and see how that goes." There's definitely going to be trial and error. Reporters are human, and sometimes we may go through some personal things that may take us away from our goals with our mentees. Don't take it personal. Just think of you and your journey and what you need and focus on that and find someone that is able to meet that for you.
Just like with all other types of relationships that we encounter as human beings, is that it's normal to outgrow certain relationships. And maybe the kind of mentor you needed when you were in theory is different than what you're needing when you're preparing for your certification test, or even when, let's say, you're a working reporter and now you want to build your own agency or start a leadership position in the local or national boards. That's okay. I just think it's also very important, no matter how things progress or develop with your mentor, always leave on a respectful, kind note and just always leave that door open, because at the end of the day, that mentor really did provide something for you as a student or as a new reporter.
Definitely. And also keep in mind that things have changed from the time that your mentor was in school. I mean, even for me, schools are not the same from, 6 years ago or, 8. They are completely different. Even certain laws within the state, as far as testing go, are completely different. Keep that in mind. And don't leave all of the legwork for the mentor either. You're still very much responsible for your journey.
Is there maybe a percentage that you would ascribe to the mentee versus the mentor, or is it a 50-50 relationship, or is it depending on certain parts?
Well, I think it's always the responsibility of the mentee because it's your journey. You always have to keep that in mind. It's your journey. If there's something that you need that you are not getting, it's up to you to find it. And if you can't get it from your mentor, then there has to be another way for you to get it. But it doesn't mean that you have to break away from that mentor. There might be other things that your mentor can guide you through. Find what you need elsewhere.
A mentor can help you find another mentor as
Yes.
well.
Yes, they can say, hey, you might want to reach out to so and so. She's great at doing this. Or, hey, so and so is having a boot camp on, briefing. You should totally do this. And then there's that connection that you then, for example, could build with that person that's doing that boot camp. And you form that relationship with that person. You don't have to necessarily just stick with one mentor and only that mentor. You'll definitely find along your journey that there's people that can help you with all sorts of things.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like you've been fortunate enough to have the same mentors since day one. Did you ever have any other mentors in addition to Kim?
I consider Kim definitely my mentor that has been, like you said, with me since day one. But yes, I mean, I did reach out to reporters that were in other areas of reporting. For example, I worked at a firm and there was a reporter that gave me information on deposition work. She guided me through understanding that area. As a student, I was told that I had to start off doing depot work. And so I wanted to get a feel for that. So she guided me through that, all the while still having Kim as my primary mentor. And then of course, Kim is a criminal reporter and she was back then. And so when it came to learning the different types of court, like family, stuff like that, then I also had other reporters guide me through understanding those areas as well.
Were you able to shadow or intern with any of these reporters?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, and that was where I learned so much about being an official. I actually started doing court work instead of depot work. When I would shadow with my mentor, it really did a world of change for me because she made sure that I wasn't just writing on my machine. And so now, as a reporter, that's one thing that I would absolutely tell students is that when you shadow in court or in a deposition or with a captioner, just focus on your writing. The skill you already have. It's what happens in that setting that you need to worry about. You need to be writing, questions about things that you may not understand, like what is going on right now? What is emotion and limine? Why are all these people present? Who is representing who? And why isn't that item needed? Stuff
Right.
like that.
Right. Like more about techniques and procedures and really less about writing on the machine.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly agree. Would you consider everybody you shadowed with a mentor, or did you limit who you were shadowing with to your list of mentors, or how do you differentiate between the two?
Well, for example, if I went into family court and my mentor was in criminal court, sure, my mentor is going to know, how most courts work, but as far as like family court, that one reporter there is going to know the most, right? And so not necessarily maybe a mentor, but definitely a contact that, for example, if I have any questions, then I can reach out to that reporter and say, hey, I'm in family court. What does this mean? 3 months after I received my certification, I got my court. and I started working in family court. Well, I had never really interned as much in family court. I think I'd only spent a day or two in family court before I got my court. And so having that contact helped me in getting through those first months as the official of that court.
What are some things that a student should look for when it comes to finding a mentor, whether it's somebody to shadow with or someone to speak on the phone with?
Well, for me, what I needed was someone that could be very in my face and tell me how it is and not worry about really. So I believe that when it comes to your personal needs, you have to analyze whether this reporter is going to be the type of reporter that will be in your face. I'm going to tell you how it is, and this is what you need. If that's how you function as a student, is for someone to constantly be after you, then that's the reporter that you need. And if you find someone like that, then that's good for you. If you're the type of student that is always motivated, you don't need someone constantly telling you you can do this or something motivational, then and you just need that reporter to kind of. Okay, I think that it definitely varies by student. If you're the type of student that needs motivation, then look for a reporter that you will be motivated by. If you are the type of student that doesn't need someone to constantly reach out to them, but just rather to maybe just answer a question here and there, then look for someone like that. It really depends on the student's needs. Some students may not know what they need. And so that's why it's a trial and error type of thing, because as I mentioned in my journey, I didn't know what I needed all the time. And so when I saw someone that motivated me, I knew that that was the person for me.
When you finally took that certification test, you took it the eighth time and you passed it. How did that feel?
I immediately cried. And this is funny because I had been in that testing room with other students time after time. And I immediately knew I had passed this test. And I started bawling. I cried my eyes out right then and there. And I remember one student turning to look at me. She was like, "It's okay. You'll get it next time." So she thought I had failed again. And I just kept nodding my head, like, no, no, like, you don't get it. I passed. It's funny because coming back to that relationship with your mentor, coming out of that testing room, the very first person that I wanted to call was my mentor because I wanted her to be proud of me. I wanted her to know this, like, I felt like I passed. So I called her and I was crying still. And I just said, "Kim, I think I passed. Like, I'm pretty sure." And she was the first person that I contacted when I got the letter, the email saying that I'd passed. I actually just texted her my name, comma CSR, and
That's beautiful.
and she called me and she's like, What happened? I got a text, but I didn't get like the meat of it or something like that." And I was like, "Well, look at the text again, Kim." And she's like, "Janet Saavedra, CSR, Janet Saavedra, CSR." And so I was just so excited because she had been with me all those years. She had been with me failure after failure. And, or at least I thought it was failure. It was actually me just growing. I like to
Right.
think of it that way now. She had been with me and stuck with me and never lost faith in me and she made me feel that way. It was a very special moment for me. And I just wish that for every student out there to have someone that they can feel that way with and share their journey, because it's not the same with a family member as it is with someone who completely and absolutely understands your struggles.
Right, right. To have
Yes.
somebody who's already in the field being that cheerleader for you, it means a lot more than just having family be a cheerleader because you know your family's always going to be your cheerleader. But Having
Right.
somebody who's in the field and they can really recognize the accomplishments or the obstacles that you've overcome is definitely something special.
Right. And I was not the perfect student. I will tell you that right now. I dropped out a couple times. My practice schedule was not the best at moments, but when it was, I would fly. And I did go through a period with my state exam where I did feel like I was getting nowhere, even though I was practicing and had a practicing schedule. But you just have to really evaluate yourself and find out what it is truthfully that you have to change. Sometimes it might not be related to court reporting because, on top of changing my environment, I also changed my habits. That month before I passed, I started eating better, which gave me more energy. It gave me better focus, cleared some of that brain fog. I started working out every day. You just have to analyze yourself and see what area in your life you need to work on so that it can help you get to where your goals are.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. So, Janet, you've mentioned a few things, but I want to know everything. What did you do differently between your seventh attempt of taking that CSR and then your final attempt, which was your eighth attempt, and you passed, and you knew you passed right as you were walking out? What did you do differently? What were the habits that you changed? Just tell us everything.
So, oh gosh, so many things. I failed 7 tests. The seventh test was like in January, and I thought it would be a good idea to test in a different state just to keep that practice. And so I decided I was going to take the Oklahoma exam, which I thought was going to be easy peasy because the Oklahoma exam was a lit and a Q&A at 200 words a minute. Texas is 180 lit, 200 jury charge, and 225 Q&A. I'd always passed my lit and jury charge. In fact, I'd only missed like two little points in my lit ones, I think like 12 in my jury charge. And I remember my Q&A, that last test, I failed it by like 80 something, right? So what happened was my seventh test, I asked for a regrade, not because I thought I had passed, but because I wanted to see what mistakes I'd made. And I found out that those last 2 minutes of my Q&A was where I had made all my mistakes. And so I knew it was not my skill. It was something right in my environment. So when I went in to take the Oklahoma exam, I was in the middle of taking the Q&A, and I'll look up and I see a girl that had her hands on her lap. And I started immediately going through those feelings of, oh my gosh, this poor girl, I know how she feels. I have felt a Q&A before, and she must be feeling horrible. And my heart started pumping. And before I knew it, the words were escaping. And I tried to focus back. I kept going. And I ended up failing that Q&A by 8. And it was a 200 Q&A. And funny thing is, the girl had not stopped writing because she was failing. She had stopped writing because she didn't need that part of the exam.
Oh
Uh,
no.
right. I didn't know that you could do it in legs, and she just did not need that leg anymore. I felt awful, but then that made me realize, yeah, it's not my skill. I have the skill. I've passed a 200 Q&A. It's my environment and my focus. So what I did was I told my parents, look, I'm going to practice at my local library. And I told no one, not a soul knew that I was a month away from taking my Texas exam. The only person that knew actually was my husband because he was going with me to every exam. I told everybody that my phone was going to be off at the library and I was going to be there for 2 hours every day from this time to this time. I was taking it like a job. And the reason too is because I was at home, but I was not focusing. I was like, oh, I could be doing my dishes right now. I could be doing a load of clothes while I practice. And so I could be on my machine all day, but it was not focused practice. So when I would go into the library, it was just me and my machine. And sometimes I was not on my machine. Sometimes it was just proofreading practice, like grammar and punctuation, stuff like that. I also did meditation, I did affirmations, and I did hypnosis literally the hour before I'd go practice. And so
So
I
was that hypnosis steno related?
definitely steno related. And so, it was in my head like I can pass the state exam, And so I was relaxed and I was motivated and I believed in myself every day when I would go and practice. When I went in to take that exam, I didn't talk to anybody in the room before my exam. I mean, I was focused. They always tell you when you're in school, they're like, just look at a spot and focus there. I could never for the life of me find that spot, not in the previous 7 attempts. I mean, I would try to focus on one spot, nope, and then some other thing would pass by floating, and then I couldn't focus. Well, this time I found that one little, it was a little gray fuzz on the carpet. I went to a corner in the room, corner of the room, little gray fuzz on the carpet, and that was it. I was laser focused, and it was so different. Previous attempts, I had gotten dressed up for the test. This attempt, I just showed up in my sweatpants, my husband's huge baggy sweatshirt, and
Is that what you would practice in typically?
yes, I just threw my husband's hoodie over my head, and I closed my eyes at one point when I felt like I could seriously feel my heart pounding through my sweatshirt at one point. And so I closed my eyes and I just took a deep breath and then I opened and stared at the little fuzz and I kept going. But yeah, that one and only time I found that little spot, it worked for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I really appreciate all of these tips, and I definitely appreciate you helping all of our listeners find a mentor and develop a healthy relationship with their mentor. Janet, thank you so much for those tips, especially those tips and for everything you've told us about how to find a mentor and how to develop a healthy relationship with our mentor. And now, if any of our listeners want to contact you, how could they do that?
They can find me on Instagram. I'm Steno_llama, or Facebook. I'm Janet Saavedra, and that's Saavedra. And definitely, if you're wanting to maybe be hooked up with a mentor, consider reaching out to your local and state associations as well and ask if maybe they have a mentorship program. So maybe they can help you find that perfect mentor for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.